Arsenal did it again and nobody saw it coming. If you were watching the clock tick down at the Estadio Jose Alvalade on Tuesday night and thinking Arsenal were going home with nothing, you were not alone. 90 minutes of football had come and gone. Sporting CP had been the better side for long stretches. The Arsenal fans in the stands looked nervous. And then out of absolutely nowhere, Kai Havertz happened. That is the thing about this Arsenal team under Mikel Arteta. Just when you think they are done, just when you think the game has passed them by, they find a way. They always find a way. A 1-0 win in Lisbon, a stoppage time goal, a huge advantage going into the second leg at the Emirates, and a performance that was, if we are being honest, not very pretty at all. So what actually happened? How did Arsenal win a game they barely looked like winning? What did the manager say? And what does this all mean for the second leg? Let us get into all of it together. How did we even get here? Before we talk about the match itself, it helps to understand the mood around Arsenal heading into this game because it was not great. Just 3 days before the Sporting match, Arsenal had lost 2-1 to Southampton in the FA Cup quarter-final. Southampton, a championship side, not even a Premier League club. It was a result that shocked everyone and knocked Arsenal out of a competition they were expected to win comfortably, and that came just weeks after losing the EFL Cup final to Manchester City. So Arsenal had gone from dreaming of a historic quadruple to being left with just the Premier League and the Champions League to fight for, 2 cup exits in 2 games, back-to-back defeats for the first time all season. The question everyone was asking was simple: had Arsenal run out of steam? Were the wheels finally coming off for Arteta's side? The manager himself spoke to the press on Monday evening after landing in Lisbon, and his words told you everything about how he and the squad were approaching it. He said they needed to feel the pain of those defeats and use it as fuel. He said they had watched the Southampton game back twice and felt they did not deserve to lose it. He said they needed to defend what makes them who they are because that identity is the reason they have come so far this season. He was calm, he was clear, and he was ready. What actually happened on the night here is the honest version of events from the Estadio Jose Alvalade. Arsenal were not good. Not in the way you would want them to be in a Champions League quarter-final first leg. They created very little. Victor Gyökeres, signed in the summer and carrying the expectations of a striker who lit up European football for Sporting last season, had a quiet night against his former club. Sporting, on the other hand, were excellent at home. They have been excellent at home all season, winning every single Champions League home game before this one. They pressed, they created moments, they made Arsenal uncomfortable for long stretches. The crowd was loud and behind them. For most of the match, it looked like it was going to finish 0-0. And honestly, a 0-0 away from home in the Champions League quarter-final against a team that had not lost at home all European campaign is not a bad result. You would take, but Arsenal did not settle for that. In the 91st minute, deep into stoppage time, Kai Havertz scored. The details of exactly how the goal came about are still being written about by reporters who were at the stadium, but the outcome is clear. Arsenal nicked it, a smash and grab, as the reporters covering the game described it, a 1-0 win that nobody fully expected, and now Arsenal go home to the Emirates with a lead. Why Havertz is so important to this Arsenal side. Let us take a moment to talk about Kai Havertz because honestly, he deserves it. When Arsenal signed him from Chelsea, there were plenty of people who were not convinced. He had been inconsistent at Chelsea. He could look brilliant one week and invisible the next. The question was whether Arteta could get the best out of him consistently. The answer has been yes. And then some. Havertz has become one of the most important players in this Arsenal squad. He scores goals at big moments. He works incredibly hard. He understands exactly what Arteta wants from him, and he keeps delivering when it matters most. Think about it. When Arsenal needed someone to step up in Lisbon, it was Havertz. When Arteta was asked about him after a previous match, he said Havertz had a massive impact, that he scored again, did well with and without the ball, and that they have a good connection and understand each other really well. That connection between a manager and a player is something special. And on Tuesday night in Lisbon, it was the difference between a draw and a win. Have you noticed how often it is Havertz who turns up in the big moments for Arsenal this season? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because it feels like he is one of the most underrated players in the whole league right now. The context that makes this win even bigger to understand why this result matters so much, you need to know what Sporting CP have done in this Champions League campaign. They are not just any team. They have been one of the stories of the competition. They came back from 3-0 down against Bodo Glimt in the round of 16, winning 5-0 in the second leg to go through. That is one of the most dramatic European comebacks in recent memory. They knocked out a proper team in a proper way. And before Tuesday night, they had won every single home game in the Champions League this season. No team had beaten Sporting at home in Europe this season before Arsenal came along and did it in the 91st minute. That is huge. That is not a lucky win against a small club. That is Arsenal going to one of the toughest European away grounds of the moment and getting the result. Arteta himself had spoken before the game about how difficult he knew it would be. He said that when you look at what Sporting have done, especially at home, and the teams they have beaten, you understand the difficulty of the match. That is exactly why Arsenal wanted it even more. What Arteta said before the game and why it matters, we do not yet have the full post-match comments from Arteta because the press conferences were still happening as reports came in after the final whistle. But what he said before the game gives you a really clear picture of the mindset inside the Arsenal dressing room. After the Southampton loss, he said Arsenal needed to stand up and accept the situation and go again to Portugal with freshness and clarity. He did not point fingers. He did not blame players. He took responsibility himself and told his team to look themselves in the mirror. He also gave an honest assessment of why they lost to Southampton and City in recent weeks. He said those teams decided to take the game to Arsenal and it worked, and he knew that Sporting would likely try something similar. But here is the thing about Arteta, he never loses the belief, not publicly, and from everything we have seen, not privately either. He said before this game that Arsenal were hungrier than ever, very excited and very motivated. He said they have to live the present and deliver every day. And on Tuesday night, his team did exactly that. Do you think Arteta is the right man to finally deliver a major trophy for Arsenal this season? It feels like this squad has everything it needs. Let us know what you think, the injury situation and how Arsenal managed it. One of the impressive things about this win is who was not playing for Arsenal. Bukayo Saka was missing. Jurriën Timber was also not available. Two hugely important players sitting in the stands because of injury. Arteta confirmed before the game that both players were having trouble and were not ready. He said he hoped they would be back for the weekend if everything went well. He described having so many important players unavailable as something that needed to change immediately. And yet Arsenal still won. Without Saka, without Timber in Lisbon, against a team that had not lost at home all competition, Arsenal won. That tells you something really important about the depth of this squad. Noni Madueke came in and played. Declan Rice was available and started. Gabriel was fit and played too after some fitness concerns. And when the moment came, it was Havertz who delivered. A team that can win a Champions League quarter-final first leg away from home without two of their best players is a team that believes in every single player they have. That is the culture Arteta has built. What happens now at the Emirates? So Arsenal go into the second leg at the Emirates Stadium with a 1-0 lead. Think about what that means. Sporting need to come to London and score. They need to attack. They need to leave spaces behind them. And Arsenal at the Emirates with a lead, with their crowd behind them, with Saka potentially back, is a frightening prospect for any team in Europe. Arsenal at home in the Champions League this season have been outstanding. They do not give up goals easily. They are clinical when chances come, and they will be motivated by the knowledge that a Champions League semi-final is now within reach. Of course, nothing is done yet. Sporting are dangerous. They showed that on Tuesday night. They will come to London believing they can turn it around, and they will not be wrong to believe that. A single Sporting goal changes everything and puts Arsenal under pressure. But right now, the momentum is with Arsenal. The result is with Arsenal. And the Emirates crowd, always loud, always passionate, will be ready for them. If you are lucky enough to have a ticket for the second leg, how are you feeling about it? And even if you are watching from home, what is your prediction for how it ends? The bigger picture for Arsenal this season, let us zoom out for a second because there is a lot going on for Arsenal right now and it is worth putting it all in perspective. They are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. 9 points, that is a significant lead with weeks left to play. Manchester City do have a game in hand, but even so, Arsenal have been so consistent in the league all season that it is hard to imagine them throwing that away. They are in the Champions League quarter-finals with an away goal advantage heading into the second leg. 2 games from a semi-final and then 2 from the final itself. Yes, they have lost 2 cup competitions. The EFL Cup went to City. The FA Cup dream ended at Southampton. Those hurt. Nobody is pretending they did not. But 2 cup exits does not define a season when you are still fighting for the Premier League title and the Champions League. In fact, there is an argument that losing those cups, as painful as it was, has freed Arsenal up in a way. There are no more cup games to worry about. Every training session, every recovery day, every tactical preparation is now focused on just 2 competitions, the League and Europe. That is a lot of energy to put into 2 goals. And if Arsenal can win both, which is possible, this would be one of the greatest seasons in the club's modern history. Arteta himself said at the start of the Champions League quarter-final build-up that it does not get much better than this, a quarter-final of the Champions League. He reminded everyone how hard the squad had worked throughout the season to get to that position in the competition. Those words feel even more meaningful now. What makes this Arsenal team different? People have been asking for years what it would take for Arsenal to really compete for the biggest prizes again. For a long time, they were a good team that fell short, good enough to finish in the top four, good enough to have exciting moments, but not quite good enough to win the things that matter. Something has shifted under Arteta, and it is not just the players, though the players are excellent, it is the mentality. When Arsenal lost to Southampton on Saturday, they did not fall apart. When they flew to Lisbon 3 days later, they did not look like a team carrying the weight of defeat. They looked like a team that had processed what happened, talked about it honestly, and moved on with purpose. That is a mature team. That is a team that knows who they are and what they are doing. When Arteta said they had watched the Southampton game back twice and discussed exactly what went wrong and why, that is not just words, that is a process. That is a culture of honesty and improvement, and the results speak for themselves. 9 points clear in the league, 1-0 up in the Champions League quarter-finals, an away win in Lisbon against the team that had not been beaten at home in Europe all season. Something is building here, something real. A note on Victor Gyökeres and what lies ahead. We have to mention Victor Gyökeres. He came back to face his former club on Tuesday night and had a quiet game. That happens. Playing against the team that shaped you in front of a crowd that used to cheer your name is not easy emotionally or practically. But Arteta spoke about him with real warmth before the game. He said that Gyökeres is creating a story, that the moments he had at Sporting and the moments he is creating now at Arsenal are all part of that story. And he hoped Tuesday night would show another very good side of him. It did not turn out that way on the night, but Gyökeres is not the kind of player who lets one quiet game define him. He scored for Sweden during the international break. He has been important for Arsenal at various points this season. And with Saka potentially returning for the second leg, the pressure on Gyökeres to carry everything by himself will ease. A semi-final run with Saka and Gyökeres both fit and firing is an exciting thought for every Arsenal fan. Final thoughts. And one last question. What a night, what a win, and what a position Arsenal are now in. It was not a beautiful performance. It was not the kind of dominant display that makes the highlights look effortless. It was scrappy, it was tense, it was uncomfortable at times, but the scoreline only ever shows the number that matters. Arsenal went to Lisbon. Arsenal faced a team that had not lost at home in European competition all season. Arsenal did it without two of their best players. And Arsenal won because in the 91st minute, Kai Havertz did what Kai Havertz does. Arteta will be proud, not just of the result, but of the character. His team went through 2 cup exits, flew to one of the toughest away grounds in Europe and dug out a result. That is what champions do. The second leg is coming, the Emirates will be rocking, and Arsenal have one hand on a Champions League semi-final. Now, here is the question we want to leave you with today. Do you think this is the year Arsenal finally win the Champions League? Is this squad, this manager, this moment the one that makes history? Leave your answer in the comments. Share this post with your fellow Arsenal fans. And make sure you are back here for the full coverage of the second leg because it is going to be something special. Come on, Arsenal.